As mentioned earlier, the daily times is where you will spend most of the time that you're working in your time hub system. So it's important that you know that you can change this view. So this view, as I said earlier, by default is in date order, grouped by employees who have some form of flag on their record. So when I go into this option here, so this is the filter, and you'll see these filter buttons in a number of screens. So if I click on that, it gives me all of the different ways that I can sort and present the information that I'm looking at. So for example, if I wanted to look at a particular flag, now by default, all of these flags will be selected. So this is what I would see, all data. I would only see the data that is flagged. So if I went in here and I wanted to see all data, I could remove the flags and then I would see everything. If I wanted to group it by a particular thing, so let's say it's more important to me that I group it by department and then employee within the department. If I search that, what I'll get is all my admin staff, then my cleaning staff, then my factory staff, and then my sales staff. So I'm grouping it by a different option. I can then say, okay, well, if I group it by department or on date or employee or department and date, and then I want to sort it by surname, or do I want to sort it by first name? I can sort it by anything I want. So then I can sort that. I can group it, look for a particular department or several departments if I want to. So depending on what I'm looking to do, I can search for employees who have a particular tag, which we'll talk about in a second, or who are flagged in a particular way. But if I search that, then I will get a completely different view. So now I'm getting admin, and then by that within date, and then by that within employee. So if I come back here, the other option you've got in here, for example, if I wanted to only look for employees who had a red circle, because that's the one that's going to stop me processing the pay. And I also want to look for employees who've got a red triangle, because those two are either going to stop me processing the pay or could mean that someone doesn't get paid when they should. So by default, this will only show up to and including yesterday. If I want to see today's data, I just untick this option here. So if this is ticked, it only shows up to yesterday. If it's unticked, it only shows up to shows everything including today. Now bear in mind, if it's showing today, then there'll be lots of people who haven't clocked out yet, so that's going to affect what you see. If I've got people who have been rostered on leave or on casual shifts, I can show days even if they're not expected to work. I can choose to show the notes if that's what I want to do. I can choose to only show days that have been edited, and I can choose to either show actuals or not. Now typically I would show actuals, and if I search for that now, see what we get. So now I'm grouping by department. I'm only getting the employees each day who have got one of those either red triangles or red circles. In this case, they are all red triangles because I've already fixed all my red circles. So this is a way of looking for the data where there is somebody who needs some data addressed or an edit made. But the important thing to remember this is that you can play with these search and sort orders. So for example, if I just wanted it by employee, then I want it by surname inside that, or I wanted a particular employee or group of employees, I can choose a particular group of employees. What I can also do when I've searched, if I want to get all data for all employees grouped by employee, I take everything else out, I go search, now I'll get all of that information. Now what I can do with this, if this is the way I want to see my data every time I come into this screen, I simply come up to the URL bar here, I mark the text, I grab or click on the secure word, I drag that icon down, put it on my toolbar somewhere, and then in future, whenever I come in here, if I come back out of this screen and go to a different screen for a second, right, I'll come back here. Now, whenever I come in here, if I click on this option here, then I will get the view that I just created with the filters that I just created, and that will be my default view. So you can do that. You can save or bookmark as many of those views as you want. If you've got different options that you want to sort, so for example, you might want to only have a view that only looks at those two departments. And if that's the case, then you can do that, and then that's what you'll get, and then you can bookmark that particular view. So you can bookmark as many different views as you wish. If you want to reset it, you just simply go clear, and it goes back to the default, which you would normally expect it to see. So have a play with the filters, because the filters are very powerful in the way the system works, and they can show you more or less information. As I said earlier, once you've applied your filter, then you can run a report based on that filter, and those reports can be printed to PDF.